Hey, this is SightSingy. This video will help you understand concepts like rhythm, different types of meters, and time signatures. To start, let's listen to two examples. The first is part of a Gregorian chant. Now for the second example, here's a segment from Handel's Hallelujah melody. What similarities and differences did you notice between these two pieces? In both, we heard a mix of long and short notes. However, Hallelujah had clear repeating patterns that the Gregorian chant didn't. In Hallelujah, vertical lines called bar lines divide the music into equal sections called measures. Also, at the beginning, we see two numbers stacked on top of each other, called a time signature. On the other hand, the Gregorian chant has no time signatures, bar lines, or measures. Based on these examples, we can define rhythm and meter as follows. Rhythm is the flow of music through time, created by how long or short the notes and silences are played. Meter is a specific type of rhythm that organizes music into repeating patterns of strong and weak beats. Please note that every piece of music has rhythm, but not all types of music have meter. Metric music is characterized by pulse, which is the steady heartbeat of music. To better understand these definitions, listen to two more examples and note the differences between metric and non-metric music. First, a segment from the cadenza of Grieg's Piano Concerto, which is non-metric and free rhythm. Next, listen to a part of the Gollywog's Cakewalk from Children's Corner by Claude Debussy, which is metric. Notice that most of the music we typically encounter is metric, while non-metric and free rhythm music is less common. Since this channel focuses on sight singing, we will concentrate on metric music. For simplicity, we might sometimes use the terms meter and rhythm in a similar way. Now, let's explain and define two concepts we encountered in the examples: note durations and measures. Note durations are relative and depend on the meter and tempo, but for now, let's get to know the most common note durations in music. The whole note is the longest. Let's assume it lasts about 4 seconds. The half note would then last 2 seconds, half as long as a whole note. The quarter note would be shorter, at 1 second. The eighth note would take up just half a second, and finally, the 16th note would be the quickest, lasting only a quarter of a second. A dotted note extends its duration by adding half of its original value. For example, the dotted half note would be 3 seconds long, while the dotted quarter note would take 1.5 seconds. There are also other durations, like the 30-second note, but in this lesson, we'll focus on the most common ones. A measure is like a time container that holds equal time values. For example, in a 2-beat meter, the total length of the notes in each measure adds up to 2 beats, while in a 4-beat meter, the notes in each measure combine to total 4 beats. The first beat in each measure is typically the strongest, creating a natural emphasis, while the other beats are generally weaker. measures are separated by vertical lines called bar lines. The time signature, found at the beginning of a piece of music, defines the metric structure and how the music is divided into measures. It consists of two numbers stacked vertically. The top number, also called the numerator, indicates how many beats are in each measure. The bottom number, also called the denominator, shows which note value represents one beat. The number 1 at the bottom, which is not very common, represents a whole note. 2 represents a half note, 4 represents a quarter note, 8 represents an eighth note, and 16 represents a 16th note. For example, 2-1 means 2 whole notes per measure. 3-2 means 3 half notes per measure. 4-4 means 4 quarter notes per measure. 5-8 means 5 eighth notes per measure. And 6-16 means 6 16th notes per measure. Meters in music can be divided into 3 main categories: simple, compound, and irregular. In a simple meter, each beat is divided into 2 equal parts, like a quarter note divided into 2 eighth notes. Compound meters divide each beat into 3 equal parts, like a dotted quarter note divided into 3 eighth notes. Irregular meters, on the other hand, combine both simple and compound beats within the same measure, creating unique and complex rhythms. Now, let's explore some of the most common simple, compound, and irregular time signatures with examples from classical music. For a simple 2-beat meter, consider Le Toreadors from Bizet's Carmen. This piece is in 2/4 time, meaning each measure contains 2 quarter notes or their equivalent in note value.
1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and.
Brahms' Lullaby demonstrates a simple 3-beat meter. In 3/4 time, each measure holds 3 quarter notes or their equivalent. Notice that this piece doesn't begin on the first beat. It starts on the third beat, known as an upbeat or Auftakt in German.
1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and.
Beethoven's Ode to Joy from his Ninth Symphony is an example of a simple 4-beat meter. In 4/4 time, each measure includes 4 quarter notes or their equivalent. Because this meter is very common in Western music, it is sometimes called common time and represented by a C instead of 4/4.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
Another type of simple 2-beat meter is 2/2, as seen in Haydn's Symphony No. 104. In this meter, each measure consists of 2 half notes or their equivalent. Known as alla breve or cut common, it is sometimes represented by a C with a vertical line through it instead of 2/2.
1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and.
Grieg's Morning Mood from Peer Gynt's Suite illustrates a compound 2-beat meter. This piece is in 6/8 time, where each measure contains 2 dotted quarter notes or their equivalent.
1 2 3 2 2 3 1 2 3 2 2 3.
Bach's Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring is an example of a compound 3-beat meter. In 9/8 time, each measure consists of 3 dotted quarter notes or their equivalent.
1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2.
Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 5 shows a compound 4-beat meter in 12/8 time. Each measure includes 4 dotted quarter notes or their equivalent. The piece begins on an upbeat, starting on the 4th beat instead of the 1st.
1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3 4 2 2.
Now let's look at a different type of meter, 3/8. This meter has 3/8 notes in each measure. It's considered a simple 3-beat meter if played slowly, but because it's usually played quickly, it's treated as a compound 1-beat meter. For an example of 3/8 as a compound meter, listen to Aragonese from Bizet's Carmen.
1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3.
We can have many variations of irregular meters, where some beats are simple and some are compound. Let's explore 2 common types. A 5/4 meter, as seen in Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 6, consists of 5 quarter notes per measure, grouped as 2+3 or 3+2. Both 5/4 and 5/8 meters are considered 5-beat meters when played slowly, but if played quickly, they are treated as asymmetric 2-beat meters.
1 and 2 2 3 1 and 2 2 3.
Prokofiev's Piano Sonata No. 7 offers an example of a 7/8 meter. This meter has 7/8 notes per measure, which can be grouped as 2+2+3, 3+2+2, or the less common 2+3+2, which Prokofiev uses in this example. It's treated as a 7-beat meter when played slowly, but if played quickly, it's considered an asymmetric 3-beat meter.
1 and 2 2 3 3 and 1 and 2 2 3 3 and.
Understanding meters and time signatures is essential for learning music theory, sight singing, and gaining a deeper appreciation of music. As you continue to explore music, try to identify the meters and time signatures in the pieces you listen to. In future videos, we will begin practicing rhythmic figures and lines in different meters and time signatures, eventually progressing to singing melodies in diverse rhythmic contexts. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to explore my other lessons on sight singing and music theory. Don't forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and tap the bell icon to stay updated on new videos. See you in the next lesson.